All right. We are now back after executive session. It is 7:31. We'll go ahead and proceed with our agenda. Our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please rise. Okay, so we don't have any special presentations scheduled for today. So superintendent comments. Dr. Forte, if you will.
Okay, so we had a delayed opening today. I want to thank Dr. Cullis. I was in the airport at 5:30 a.m., 4:30 a.m., and that's when all the stuff was going on. So thank you for making sure everything was taken care of and the kids were safe today. Again, I noticed I brought these plans down from 1969 for Nicole Drive that the board at the time had drawn up. If you want to take a look at them, they're pretty. It's pretty interesting that we have them back from that long back. Reminder: January 6th Board of Education meeting is 6 p.m. And we can talk about, if you can bring it up at the good of the order, for if we want to make the reorg meetings at 7 going forward. This one we can't change because we already advertised it, but for the next year, we want to. I set the board self-eval and goal setting meeting for June 9th. The days were starting to get picked up, so I already set it. So you guys have that. I already put it on it's on the agendas. It'll be on the agenda starting in January to remind everybody. So it'll be June 9th this year. I've visited all the faculty meetings in the school district to talk about civility. And I also sent a letter out to the public. I shared with you this Friday regarding email, the way that we expect the public to interact with our staff, and empowering our staff to end conversations that are getting out of control, and to also remind staff that when they're not working, they're not required to respond to email. I didn't say they couldn't. I just said, just remember your own private time is your private time. And if you respond to them, people are going to expect responses overnight. And that's one of the reasons why we had this last issue with a parent that was berating one of our staff members on a phone call. I put in my report to you a public comment on school funding. It actually was in the minutes from the finance committee the other day. The NJDOE is having some updates for the school funding formula. We discussed it a little bit in the finance committee the other day, and I share with you a bill. That bill has no motion, it's not moving at all. But I think it's important that we just keep an eye on it. That's what they're proposing to update the School Funding Reform Act. I had a good meeting with Ms. Astorino last week, started filling her in on all the process. She asked some great questions and seems up to the challenge. And I'll remember to bring up the reorg possible 7 p.m. And that's it.
Dr. Forte, did you want to share your meeting with the mayor about the anxious generation, or did you want to do that for the good of the cause?
I thought we'd do it when we're doing the resolution, if that's all right.
Oh, sure. Not a problem. Great. Thank you, Dr. Forte. Assistant Superintendent comments, please.
None at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis. And Business Administrator comments, Ms. Kurowski.
None at this time.
Okay. At this time, we'll open it up to public comments. Currently, it is 7:35, and we'll give it a minute or so in case there's anyone online. Okay. Seeing no one in the chambers and no one online, we'll go ahead and proceed with the agenda, and we'll close comments, open comments at 7:35 as well. Old business. Mr. Capello, could you take us through old business, please?
I'd be happy to. If there are no objections under old business, I would like to move items A, B, and C
A are the reports from November 24 for treasurer and school monies and board secretary. B are the education reports, report of student enrollment from November 24, and the report of the health office also from November 24. And finally, the minutes from our work and regular session and executive session meeting November 18th, 24.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Agelis,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Dr. Aruna Jatasan, can you take us through personnel, please?
Absolutely. There is no objection. I'd like to move the following items under personnel. Item number 1 is new hires, resignations, retirements, employee leaves, extra pay, salary and adjustments. You have items A through P in the main, and then in the addendum Q and S. And item number 2 is FMLA for an employee commencing December 12th, so that's retroactive. Item number 3 is to rescind something that we moved on the meeting on September 9th. Item number 4 is to approve the mentor-mentee relationships for items number A through F listed under 4. Item number 5 is a revised job description for clerical assistant. Item number 6 is FMLA commencing November 18th until January 3rd. Item number 7 is to approve the substitute for leave replacement teacher. Item number 8 is FMLA approval. Item number 9 is a substitute for leave replacement teacher. And item number 10 is to hire substitutes for the districts. There you have sub-items 10A through F.
Make one change.
Okay.
M, Yesenia Velada she's a teacher, not LDTC. So
Okay, we'll
if you can make a friendly
note those
amendment.
corrections.
Okay, can I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Agelis,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Dr. Moore, can you take us through IMP, please?
Sure. I'd like to move the following resolutions under instruction and program. Under number 1 are workshops. A is the NJTESOL. B is to help English learners exit your ELL program, Powerful Strategies. Letter C is another NJTESOL, as well as D. And E is an FLENJ conference. Under item number 2, the board approves the following resolutions to include the community and board in a study of the book titled The Anxious Generation to address growing mental health challenges among school-aged children. Whereas the Board of Education is committed to supporting the mental health and well-being of all students in our district and acknowledges the increasing concerns related to anxiety, stress, and mental health issues among school-aged children. And whereas mental health challenges are impacting the academic performance, emotional development, and overall well-being of students, as evidenced by rising rates of anxiety, disorders, depression, and other mental health concerns reported both locally and nationally. And whereas the book, The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, explores the factors contributing to the mental health crisis among today's youth, including societal pressures, digital influence, academic expectations, and the role of family and community in shaping mental health outcomes. And whereas the board recognizes the importance of a collaborative, informed approach in addressing mental health challenges and believes that an open dialogue involving students, parents, educators, administrators, and community members is critical to understanding and mitigating these issues. And whereas the Board of Education desires for open discussion around mental health topics that can empower students, staff, and the broader community to foster a supportive and healthy school environment. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Denville Board of Education formally endorses a community-wide study of the book, The Anxious Generation, to better understand the causes and solutions for mental health struggles among students. The board will coordinate a series of informational sessions, book discussions, and community workshops, inviting parents, teachers, students, and mental health professionals to participate in an open, collaborative study of the book's contents. The district will provide appropriate resources for parents, students, and educators to participate in these discussions, including access to a limited number of books and supplementary materials focused on building awareness and support for mental health in schools. The board will continue to work with mental health experts and other local organizations to address the growing number of mental health concerns. Be it further resolved that the Board of Education will work with local media and other community organizations to publicize this initiative to include a broad participation and engagement from all stakeholders in the community. And then number 3 is to approve the attached list of field trips. 4 is to approve Michael Izzo, I think the editor of the West Essex Tribune, to conduct a presentation on journalism for the Riverview 5th graders. 5 is the revised visual and performing arts curriculum, theater and dance. 6 is the revised social studies curriculum. 7 is the purchase of Marco Polo Learning subscription. 8 is to approve LaDuca Smith Rosali, student from William Patterson University, to complete LDTC internship at Valley View. 9 is the revision of the standards-based report card for grades K through 5. And 10 is to improve additional staff hours for Rockaway Borough MLL.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. I spoke with Steve and I told him that for the number 2 item, I won't be voting yes for that, just because whereas I think that a majority of the recommendations he makes in the book, I agree with. I think a lot of the book is largely problematic. The conclusions that he comes to regarding the source of mental illness is pretty unfounded. He basically just took a lot of research, crammed it together to support his belief. And this is a little bit of a problem I have with a lot of the psychologists that do this sort of thing. He has no experience in mental health issues at all, other than his own. And, this is what a lot of folks do. Again, I don't have any problem with the book study itself. I think there's a lot of good stuff in there to learn. I'm just a little concerned that if I put my name on this, it's going to look like I'm endorsing his conclusions and suppositions. And the other part that concerns me a little bit is he, again, the practical steps that he lists are I can mostly get behind, but some of the way that he phrases certain things, particularly around like decreasing parental supervision, is concerning. Again, I don't want my name attached to something and then have it come back where someone took the advice of this book, claiming that myself or the district supported it and their child was injured as a result. So it's just a little too broad brushed for me. But again, I have no problem with us studying the book. And like I said, I think some of the things that he's suggesting in there would be pretty great for us to try and implement and get the community around. But I'm just concerned that if I put my name to it, it appears as if I'm supporting the book in its entirety when I'm really only supporting about 20% of it.
Well, that's not exactly what you told me. That's a little disappointing because the email you wrote me said you were going to abstain without comment. So
I didn't
don't-
say
I don't
without
understand.
comment. I said I would abstain if
Without
there wasn't,
disclaimer.
if there was no disclaimer, I was going to abstain, but I'm going to explain why I'm
Maybe-
abstaining.
Why don't we just pull the thing? Because it's just like, I get it. I understand. And if in your role that makes sense, maybe just abstaining would have been okay. But now it's like, I don't know. This is to me is the perfect definition of overthinking. Like this is not about what the guy says. It's about talking through these concerns that the public has. That it's not, it doesn't take any more than just looking at our budget to see that we have expenses that we never had before. And all we wanted to do was have a conversation with the public about it to raise awareness. That's it. And I want to tell you guys, if you recall, when I first brought it up, I did say to all of you that I've read some of the reviews and I understand there are comments that using science, it is hard to make a conclusion when just you ruled out a bunch of other things. And I totally get that. That's why I even prefaced it with that. To me, this really is about the fact that in my role as superintendent, as all of our roles here, we are dealing with things that we've never dealt with before on a consistent basis. And if a little thing like this could help bring awareness to it and possibly make some change on a small scale, the part of the book I really liked was when he talked about something a small scale you could do. Are you going to sit down and wait for the legislature or the federal government or somebody like that to come out and legislate this, or can you do something now? And that was my whole point on it. So, I mean, I was expecting you to abstain because I understood in your practice it makes sense. I wasn't expecting you to do what you just did about the comments. And I don't do this as a rule, right? But you're doing it publicly, so I guess publicly I have to respond.
Dr. Forte, if you will, the one thing I will say is I didn't get the impression that this was an attack towards you or your resolution. I just simply think that, Dr. Moore's position was just something that he didn't want to vote on or vote in favor of, and he just simply explained why. So I actually think that this resolution is a great and a valiant effort, to begin the discussion. And it really does say here, open desires for open discussion. So Dr. Forte, I don't think I want to pull this just yet. I would like to hear from other board members, but I do see that you might be a little upset, and I don't think you need to be, because I don't think that's how I got it from Dr. Moore. So Ms. Sedalis, did you want to add something?
Yes. So I was able to listen to much of the book. I'm still, I have a couple chapters left, but I will say from what I've heard, what I've read as a school board member, as a parent, as a community member, I think it's an excellent place to start. The opportunity to have the discussion, to bring it to the awareness of our wider community, I think is our responsibility as board members. I do appreciate that Steve brought the book to our attention. I will tell you that other parents have brought it to my attention as well. There are a lot of small things that we can do, and it starts here, and it starts with us. So I am fully for this resolution. I think that it's a great idea for us to have open discussion with the library, with the town council, with other organizations within our community, so that we can bring more awareness to the issue. As a parent, I see the effects of, I will say, as a parent of two preteen teenagers, I see this effect as two kids who just got phones this year. So it is a personal, viewpoint that I do come with, a perspective that kids are very much impressed upon when it comes to social media, when it comes to phones. So that being said, I won't continue too much further, but I do think it is an issue, especially within the 6th through 8th grade. I think this is something that we can kind of get on. There are other countries who are doing legislation, yes, but it does start with us, and it does start with this conversation.
Yeah, if I can. So I was actually able to attend Dr. Forte's presentation to the council actually in this chamber. And what I'll tell you is, first of all, I'm supportive of this resolution. As a layperson, and I've also listened to about half the book. I think there's a lot here that can open up a conversation. And I'll tell you from the presentation he gave, there is a lot of hunger among, the council, and that they feel it from the community that, people want to have a conversation and try to figure this out. And I really do think we're at that stage. We need to have fierce and frank conversations about this. And Cliff, I totally get your point as a mental health professional. I know you have a perspective on it. Again, as a layperson, as a parent, my kids have also had similar kinds of anxiety. I think it's a worthy conversation to have. I think this is a good first step. So I'm fully supportive.
I will just add to, and it's maybe just because I just got to this part in the book, but there is a level of independence that we don't allow our children. We do watch over them, and we want them to be protected, but there is a portion of their childhood that needs to be fostering that independence of who you are as a person without your parents watching, who you are as a person, out in the community. And we do need the community behind us as well, because we're not a very walkable community. The kids can only go so many places. But again, I think it's a great place to start. Within the book and the recommendations, within understanding, what it looks like to be a community, just in general, a community that kind of comes together. And Denville is that place where we want to be together. We want to socialize, but we have to make child-friendly places as well. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think we'll definitely have more conversations about it. I think this resolution is a great place to start.
So I think that I am supportive of this resolution, and I think the reason is it's a springboard for a conversation, and that's really all the way I look at it. There's things I'm also about 3/4 of the way through the book, and I would say there's things I agree with, there's things I disagree with, there's things I have no idea where it came from because the sources may or may not be available, or maybe just be a hypothesis that the author comes up with. No matter which category they fall in, it certainly ignites thoughts in my mind as it does others. And I'd love to discuss them with others and understand, is there something that might work for us, or at least start a dialogue amongst parents and the community? So that's all that I look at it from here. I think, the first line of the resolution where it says, now therefore let it be resolved that the Denville Board of Education formally endorses a community-wide study of the book to better understand the causes and solutions for mental health struggles among students. To me, that's the most important part, right? We're endorsing the study and the conversation, not the book itself. I understand Dr. Moore comes from it from a different perspective as far as approving or abstaining or whatever direction he wants to go in. I totally understand that. And I've had to abstain similarly on different things that affect maybe the profession that I'm in. So from my perspective, I totally understand where everybody comes from, but I love the idea of us opening a dialogue with the community and the school community and the larger community to just discuss, is there anything that we're missing that either we can help, right? Is there anything we can do to help to try to help this society become a little bit more mentally resilient? So.
I also went to the town council presentation on the book by Dr. Forte, and the council was very engaged and interested and came up with some other ideas to get the community involved. And anything we can do as a board and as individuals to improve the mental health situation, the emotional situation with our children today is really critical. And I've said this before, Steve said this before, I can't, 10, 15 years ago, imagine that we've been spending this much time, which is important, on mental health of our kids. I mean, we're here, engaged in the discussion on it. And if you saw the news today, there was a middle school shooting at a private school in Wisconsin, details unfolding. So it's a big problem. I mean, that never happened when I was a kid. And I'm sure maybe when some of you We're children too. With what's going on in schools is terrible. So I think it's a good idea. Anything we can, put out there for the public and engage the public. And I do talk to a lot of parents that I know of younger children, and many of them they do a great job with monitoring the social internet engagement for their kids. Limited time on the videos, limited time on the phones. So they take care of their academics and all the other things that are important for children. And for Dr. Moore, I understood if I was in a certain type of profession and something came up here, a book or whatever that I disagreed with, or just found it to be something that wasn't presented the way it should be, I certainly would abstain from voting on it, or even vote no on it. So, I mean, that's understood. So I think we're all good on that.
James, can I add something really quickly? It's interesting. So I'm listening to it on Audible, and I've gone out of my way to turn it on every time my kids are in the car. I've got two sophomores up at Morris Knolls, and I've got a freshman. It's really interesting to hear and start a dialogue with them. So I would say that even by just listening to it already in my family, we've kind of started a dialogue, and it's really interesting to hear, in particular, one of my kids. I won't call them out by name, but you have a 33% chance of getting it right, by the way. She now you have even a 66% chance of getting it right. She then goes on to tell me, I'm not that addicted to my phone, and then immediately has her head in her phone. And so it's nothing beyond just starting a dialogue, even amongst my family. So just a quick anecdotal story of kind of how I've like I said, I go out of my way every single time they're in the car to turn it on the Audible, and they get angry listening, and I don't get to listen to music. But anyway, that's been a fun little thing that I've kind of started with my family.
Thank you for sharing that, Mike. Vanu, did you want to add anything as well, or?
Yeah, my one thought is here. I mean, I would consider Dr. Moore to be the only professional who has dealt with these things, and we are all lay people, and in addition to it, we are all parents, right? So I think we come from that perspective, and I totally understand where you stand. I think it's perfect, and more importantly, I want to emphasize, not just to the committee here, not just to the audience here, any book, and I'm a big reader of various topics, and critical thinking is absolutely essential when you read a book. If you read a book, especially, I mean, I'm a nonfiction reader, if I agree with every point that the author says, I'm a little bit concerned about myself, right? So there are certain authors that I absolutely love reading. I would literally argue with myself, with the author right there, right? So I think that's what I would encourage the entire community to do. Read it, and with a very critical eye. But if and when you're going to make some critical decisions, talk to a professional, right? But here, to start reading, there's nothing wrong with it. So I support it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we have the town council involved, the Denville school community, the entire community, the PTAs, and so on. The police, Denver Police, MHRD, downtown Denville, and St. Clair's has been asked. I'm not sure the reply yet, but those are the groups that we're working with on this.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Did you want to add? Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, if it wasn't clear, I think it was clear to the board for the most part. I was never asking for this to be removed from the agenda. I think it's, and when Dr. Forte first presented it, I really appreciated his efforts and the summary that he presented. I think that in my mind, it's actually pretty clear cut, the damage that social media and phone usage and addiction and video game addiction does. And the only way a family is going to be able to stem that tide is if the community comes together. It's really hard for just a few parents to do that when all their friends are. So I mean, if that can be pulled off, that would be amazing. And as far as some of the other elements in terms of more free play, I've been I've been advocating that for a long time. So I'm just, I just want to, kind of circle back and say I was never asking for it to be removed, but there's certain things I just can't, I need to make it clear, like I'm not endorsing, as a professional, I'm not endorsing the entirety of the book. And that's that.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Now that I've heard your opinions and your thoughts, when I read the book or listen to it, I'll be looking for those things that you've noticed or that you disagree with. Dr. Forte, I want to laud you on your initiative here. So I too think that this is a very important topic. I know that my children has had anxiety or still has anxiety. Being that my younger one just started freshman in high school, so I can see some challenges and some struggles. So I do think that this is something that maybe we want to include in the good of the cause, just like that we have the classroom space considerations as a bullet point item. Maybe we can discuss it once a month as part of the good of the cause, to discuss maybe one element of the book and see if there's anything that either the administration can do or we could just have a conversation here in the board meeting by itself. So are there any other comments or questions with regards to this section on the agenda?
Yes, I have one.
Please.
Number 4, I was wondering how the connection, we got somebody from West Essex Tribune, which isn't local. Mr. Michael Izzo is coming in to do a presentation on journalism, which I think is really great because that's an area in our culture that has changed dramatically since I was a kid. You had so many different types of newspapers that were available to the public. And today, a lot of those newspapers are online. Those are still in business. And the Star Ledger, which was a fixture in New Jersey ever since I can remember, is now going online, has laid off a lot of people. So I think it's good at the young age here, the middle school kids were getting a presentation about, I don't know exactly what he's going to talk about, how it's like to run a newspaper and the difference between opinions and editorials and reporting the news in a factual way. I rambled on a little bit, but anyhow, I mean, this,
We have
any background on
Sure.
is he going to all the schools or?
We have different speakers, but this is a journalism unit that we do. I think it's been for 3 years now, and the kids write articles. And so this is a person that's been writing articles about our district, and I think that's how that came up, that connection came about, and then said he would come and talk about that. It's not scheduled for Lakeview at this point.
I think it's a great idea.
Great. Thank you, Don. I agree with you. So, okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes on everything, abstaining number 2.
Mrs. Aidelis,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Okay, moving on to the agenda. Mr. Anderson, can you walk us through finance, please?
Sure. If there are no objections, I'd like to move under C, finance, items number 1 through 5 as a block. That includes item number 1, which is our checks list. Item number 2 is that the board post approve the agreement with Stepping Forward Counseling Center to provide home instruction services for a student at the rate of $75 per hour. Item number 3 is that the Board of Education approve the attached consulting services agreement between Brown & Brown Insurance Services, Inc. and Denville Board of Education effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 in the amount of $12,000 annually. Item number 4 is that the board approve the agreement with Dr. Elizabeth Cleary to provide additional physical therapist services for a student for the school year 2024-2025 as needed at $120 per hour, session fee plus $25 travel fee per session, the total amount not to exceed $3,695. Item number 5 is for the board to retroactively approve the following out-of-district placements as per the student's IEP as listed in the agenda item number A.
I'll second.
Thank you. Before we move on, there seems to be a typo in number 3. There's an extra 0 under that 12,000. So, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Cass, you okay with that change?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no questions or comments, roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Adelis,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
No on the milk fund, yes on everything else.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Mr. Cass, can you walk us through operations, please?
Will do. Nothing to talk about tonight for transportation. Under building and grounds, I'm asking the board to approve in 2.1, to approve the major amendment to the long-range facility plan. Each school district must amend its long-range facilities plan at least once every 5 years, which is referred to as the major amendment. In addition, the district's LRFP must be current and consistent with the school facilities project applications. 2.2 is I'm asking the board to approve the Denville Township Fire Department to conduct training at the 46 Nicole Drive property during the 2024-2025 school year.
A second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? I do have a quick question. What is the major amendment for the LRFP?
Every 5 years, every school district needs to do an amendment to the long-range facilities plans by statute. And the last time that this board approved the long-range facilities plans was 2019. And this is just another application, just to amend that application. The original.
Okay, so it's not like an attachment, it's just,
No.
it's like a renewal for the
the
LRFP.
5-year renewal.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, roll call, please.
Dr. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Adelis,
Yes.
Dr. Aruna Jatasan,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Kim.
Yes. Okay, the next section in the agenda is good of the cause, committee reports, correspondence, discussion items, and other comments. Do we have any board meeting highlights that we would wish to discuss?
I have the fire department drill and the resolution about the study of the book, which is going to be a press release to just like a save the date kind of thing before the holidays.
Great, thank you. I do before I open it up to the rest of the board, I do want to take this opportunity to comment on one individual board member whose last meeting will be today. Dr. Aruna Jatasan has been a great addition to this board. I thoroughly enjoyed his contributions and his insights. His comments often have a deep meaning, very contemplative, very profound meanings, such as the critical thinking comment that he made earlier today, which, made me think as well. So, I truly wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors, and I will greatly miss his part in this board. So, Dr. Aruna Jatasan, thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be part of this, both for the Denville public and warmly welcoming me onto the committee and onto the board, and really educating me on how the entire system works and how important a contribution this is. And all I can tell to the public is that this board is amazing. You have such a variety of people that bring in so much different perspectives that we should be very, very appreciative that our town has board people that are motivated to volunteer to do this job. This district is in good hands. And I joined during COVID period. So I was looking forward to doing something for the community. And I'm glad I participated. And some of the best times were working with both Dino and James on the contract renewal, and that we really went through, and there was a lot of interesting discussions and everything. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. And these 3 years have flown by very, very fast. And all I can say is thank you all for doing a wonderful job. And I really appreciate my time on this board. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments from board members?
I just want to thank you all for something that we approved a while ago. We approved an Atlas project for the 3rd grade. The Rotary does a dictionary giveaway every year. And this year we were able to give an Atlas, which was much appreciated, I think, by the 3rd grade children. Their faces alone. You know, when you get a dictionary handed to you, your face is not as happy as an Atlas. So I want to thank the Rotary and all the administrators and everyone who was able to put that project together. So thank you.
Just a quick update from the Denville Education Foundation. They ran a successful bowling event back in November. And they have a sweetheart dance coming up again. This is the 2nd year they'll be doing it in February. It's on their website if anybody is interested. So just quick updates from them.
I think just with regard to the space considerations, we kind of left it as we're still wrestling with it. We didn't have Dino present. We weren't prepared to make any recommendation without him. But just 2 things of note. Both Dr. Aruna Jatasan and myself, when we took the tour, did get a sense that the older kids' classrooms were pretty constrained, and we were a little dubious that they would be able to contain 4 to 5 extra students, you know, depending. And the other issue too is that the kindergarten and 1st grade, with the numbers they are now at Lakeview, 6 more kids would push us into another classroom, which there's plans for that. It may not necessarily happen, but I just want to highlight that we're not that far from the policy for those grades as it exists right now, without decreasing those numbers in any way. But we haven't come to any concrete conclusions about adjusting the policy yet.
Among my assorted duties in town, I'm on the Recreation Committee. And we always need help at the senior social with volunteers, and we get a lot of students there to help out with the setup, serving of the food, and especially at the end when we have to do a cleanup. So we're off duty with the senior social now until March, I believe. So if you know, and a lot of times kids need it the last minute. They're short a couple of hours, and this is an option for them to help out the community. And they always have fun there and get recognition for doing it. So keep that in mind if you know of anybody looking for community service in 2025.
Doesn't the Junior National Honor Society have requirements for volunteer work? Yeah. So maybe that could be a source of volunteers.
Yeah, and the other organization I'm involved with is the Challenge Division for Special Needs Children. And we need a lot of mentors for that. It's really exploded this year. We had 50 special needs players. Unfortunately, we did get 50 mentors to sign up. So that's another opportunity. And whether it's just one Saturday they're there or they're for all 8 Saturdays, it really is a big, big help. We never can have enough mentors.
How do they get involved with that, Don? How do they get involved with that? Can they email you? Who do they email? What do they gotta do? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We're thinking about doing a spring session. It's on the back burner, but I had a lot of requests over the years, and a lot of the parents, had a lot of fun, and the kids had a lot of fun. So I'll be getting some emails right after the holidays or over to the mentor pool and see how many of these kids could help. That's the key. You cannot do this without the mentors, but you send me an email, and Emily Fry, one of our former students who's out of college now and working, she helps me. She's coach for the Challengers and the Munchkins, so she'll be moving up the food chain at some point. So just email me and be glad to give you the information, the dates, once we solidify it.
Before I close Good of the Cause, one quick question. Dr. Grip's study, is that something we'll be approving maybe in January then, or?
We already approved it, right? Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
it's already getting started. He explained, came on the call the other day. Who was on that call again? And it was finance, right? He said that we're like in the queue or something, right? But it's we're down a little bit because there's some other districts that are ahead of us. But he said that he expects us sometime in the spring, something like that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Awesome. All right, let's move on to the agenda and open it up for public comments at 8:17 p.m. Seeing no one here and no one online, we'll close it at 8:17 p.m. as well. There is no need for executive session, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Abstentions? We are adjourned at 8:18 p.m. Thank you, everyone.